So we are working on unit 1.6 today, and we're going to learn something called scientific notation. Okay, scientific notation. Now, it would probably be important that you know what scientific notation is, so I'm going to give you a definition. Okay, scientific. I'm on it, thank you though. It's early in the morning. Okay, scientific notation is when a number is written as the product of a number and a power of 10. Okay, scientific notation is when a number is written as the product of a number and a power of 10. So, I know that sounds a little confusing, okay? So let's break this down a little bit. So, first off, what does the word product mean in math? Multiplication. So it's going to be written kind of like a multiplication fact, okay? Let me show you an example of something in scientific notation. It would be if I wrote the number, let's say 1.4 times 10 to the negative 2. Okay, have you guys ever seen something written like that? Maybe in, I don't know, like, well, obviously in your math book, or maybe in like your science book or something like that. This is called scientific notation, and it's when something's written as the product, so a multiplication problem of a number times a power of 10. So it could be 10 to a positive power, can be 10 to a negative power. Okay, so that's just an example of what scientific notation looks like. Okay, the first part of our work is it is going to ask you to write each number in standard form. Write each number in standard form. Standard form. And we're going to write ourselves a little note. Standard form, this means no powers. Okay, so standard form just means we're going to go from something written in scientific notation to just its plain number form. Okay, so that means no powers in standard form. So something like this one, for example, number 1, I would like you to write 4.13 times 10 to the third power in standard form. 4.13 times 10 to the third power.
Wait, what's the property instead of one?
Means no powers. Yes. We're going to get there. Now, you're not really going to have to do any multiplication here. Okay? I'm going to show you a shortcut so that we're not actually going to have to do any multiplication. Because technically, do we know what 10 to the third power is? That's what? 1,000. We could multiply by 1,000, but there's actually a lot easier way to do this, okay? And the reason that we don't want to actually do the multiplication is a lot of times we're going to have a negative power, and that can get a little bit confusing. Okay, so this 3, okay, this tells you to move the decimal place to the right. Okay, you're going to think of these decimal places kind of like as if they were on a number line. Okay, the numbers on the right side of the number line are those getting positive or more negative. If you look at the right side of the number line, is it positive or negative? Positive. So if you have a positive number on the top, that tells you we're going to move to the right. So all you do is you rewrite your decimal, so 4.13, and we're going to take our pens, and we are literally just going to move to the right. that many times. So take your pen or pencil, and we're going to move over 1, 2, 3 spaces and put in a new decimal point. And I do want you to put it kind of big, okay? Yes, Amber. Sorry. I do want you to put it kind of big. And the reason is, do you see how there's like a missing space there? There's a missing space. What do you think we're going to put in there? A 0, exactly. So really, 4.13 times 10 to the third power is 4130. That's the answer that I'm looking for here.
4,130.
Yes, 4,130 is the actual answer that I'm looking for.
Bless you.
Okay, let's try another one. Number 2. Again, we're writing these in standard form. 7.216 times 10 to the second. 7.216 times 10 to the second power. So, this one, since it's a positive number, this tells you how many spaces am I going to move?
2.
2 places. In which direction? Right. Okay, so 2 spaces to the right. If I move over 2 spaces to the right from where it is, move over, I'm going to put in a giant decimal place. My actual answer would be what? 721.6. There you go. It really is that simple. Okay, I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. So you're just moving the decimal place. Okay, now let's try another one. Number 3, now I'd like you to move 2.78 times 10 to the negative 4. 2.78 times 10 to the negative 4. Now, this one looks a little bit more tricky, okay? What do you think that negative 4 tells you? Move to the left. So here we're going to move 4 places left. Okay, so it's just like on a number line. The number's on the right, so a positive number would tell you move to the right, just like on the number line. A negative number tells you move to the left, just like on the number line. So here, I'm going to take my decimal place, and I'm going to move 4 spaces to the left. So I want you to show the spaces. So I move 1, 2, 3, 4, put in a giant decimal point. So how many, what do I have to fill in if it's missing? Zeros. How many zeros am I going to put in there? 3. So 1, 2, 3. So your actual answer here is 0. You do have to put a 0 in front of your decimal place. Then 3 zeros and 2, 7, 8. That's the correct answer there. Now, do you see why sometimes it might be nice to write things in scientific notation? Because really, like, that's kind of confusing. If I told you, you know, a molecule or something weighed this many pounds, like, that's not really, like, that doesn't really make much sense. So sometimes, a lot of times in science, that's why this is called scientific notation. A lot of times in science, this is how you write numbers. Okay? Next thing I would like you to do is, we are on lesson 6, so let's look at the Got It. I want you to open up to page, what am I on? Sorry. We are going to look at page 52 of your books. Page 52. Okay, and I want you to look at the Got It A, B, and C. Okay, let's look at A, B, and C on page 52. Page 52. I would like you to try A, B, and C. Try problems A, B, and C, please. Okay, so problem A. Anyone think they've got an answer for me? Or should I pick someone? Colt, what do you think? Court, sorry.
7,420.
7,420. Hey, is anyone, do we agree or disagree? Disagree. Uh-oh, let's check this answer. Tony.
742,000.
All right, well, that sounds like a lot of numbers, so let's check this out, okay? If we move over, how many times am I going to move this over? 5, and I'm moving to the left or the right? To the right. So we move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put your decimal place. So I have to add in 1, 2, 3 spaces, so you're close. Just didn't quite add a lot of zeros there. So 2 more zeros, so that is actually 742,000. Okay, so you forgot to count some zeros. I don't know. Okay, let's try B. Does anyone think they get B? Eric, what do you think?
0.061.
0.061. Let's check it out. Okay, if I have to move to the left 2 times, so move over 1, over another one, put in a 0, 0.061. Looks good to me. Okay, how about C? Ooh. Asia, what'd you get? I'm sorry, say that again? 371.4. Okay, so move it over to the right 2 times. Yep, looks good to me. So is it okay to have a decimal in your actual answer? That's okay. Sometimes it happens, okay? Sometimes you have to add in zeros. Sometimes we don't. It just kind of depends on the problem, okay? Anyone have questions on how we did any of this? We feel pretty good about this? It's just moving the decimal place. You just have to count if you're going to the right or the left. Right is positive, left is negative, okay? Let's try, now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go backwards, okay? So now we've learned how to write things in standard form. So the next part, I'm going to ask you to write each number in scientific notation. Write each number in scientific notation. Okay, so those are your instructions to start with. So for example number 4, I would like you to write 4,120,000 in scientific notation. Right, 4,120,000 in scientific notation. So there's kind of a rule here that we're going to deal with, okay? We know, where do I want my decimal place to be? Did you notice in those other ones how many numbers are always in front of the decimal place? There's always 1, right? So that means I want my decimal place to be here, right? I want it to be right in between the 4 and the 1. You always want to have 1 decimal place in front. So what we're going to do is I want you to move the decimal place. We're going to write ourselves a note. This is kind of how we do this. Move decimal place and count the spaces. Okay, we're going to count the spaces from where you want it, where we want the decimal place, to where it is. Okay, so put the decimal point in where you want it, and we're going to count the number of spaces from where we want it to where it is right now. Okay, where is it right now? Before I put that there, where would the decimal place be? At the end, right? So it's currently right there. I don't ever write it because I don't need to. But what we're going to do is we're going to count the number of spaces from where we want it to where it is. So if you count the number of spaces, how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where do you think that 6 is going to go? Well, remember we're writing something by a power of 10. So how do I want this to be written? I want this to be written as 4.12 times 10 to the what power? How do you think I figure out what power? The 6th, exactly. That's why we're counting these. So you rewrite it how you want it, so it has 1 number, 1 digit in front of the decimal place. Then we count from where we want it to where it is. So I had to move 6 spaces, so this is 4.12 times 10 to the 6th power. And since I moved to the right, it's positive 6. Okay, let's try another one, because this one's a little bit trickier to get a hang of. Okay, how about if I gave you 0.1234 zeros, 0.40724. This one I moved to the right.
How many zeros are there? 5?
0.40724. Yes. No, we want to go from where we want it to where it is, where it started. Yeah, that's where it gets a little bit confusing. Okay, you have to think about, wait, which way did I move? We're always moving from where I want it to be, or we're counting from where I want it to be to where it currently is. Okay, so here, how do I want this to be written? Where do I want the decimal place to be? In between which 2 digits? The 7 and the 2. So I want it to be here. So I wanted to write 7.24 times 10 to the what power? So am I going to have to move to the left or the right? Left. The left. So if you're moving to the left, what does that tell you about your... Negative. It's going to be a negative, right? So if we're moving to the left, let's count how many spaces we have to move. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. Does that sound right? Did I count right? So 7.24 times 10 to the negative 5, because I moved to the left. So you're always going from where you want it to where it currently is, or where it started. Okay? Let's try one more like this. Number 6, I'd like you to write, this one's hard, 931,500,000 in scientific notation. 931,500,000 in scientific notation. $931,500,000 in scientific notation. So where would I want my decimal place to be? In between which 2 digits?
9 and 3.
The 9 and the 3. So I want this to be written as 9.315 times 10 to the, anyone think they know?
7th.
Okay, let's count. If I'm moving from where I want it to where it currently is, where is it right now?
The end.
At the end. Okay, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did we get 7 or 8? 8. Okay, so this should be times 10 to the 8th power. Okay, so remember, you're not counting until you move. So don't count before you start. Okay, now I would like you to look at your book. Let's look at page 53. Okay, and I'm going to do the got it D, E, and F. So let's look at page 53 and let's check to see if we've really got this. Okay, look at the got it D, E, and F. Let's do these problems and find out, do we have it? Have we got it yet? We hope so. Just multiply the outside. So multiply the whole numbers. Okay, did I give you guys enough time? I feel like we've got this? No, not yet? All right, let's look at problem D. Okay, problem D. What do you think we have there, Fabian?
What?
Problem D. What do you think the answer is?
I didn't do that one.
Okay, well, you can do it now. Where do you want the decimal place to be? In between which two digits? Okay, which ones? The first ones or the second set? The first ones, right. So I want it to be here. So I want this to be written as 1.414 times 10 to the, are you moving to the left or to the right? To the right. And how many spaces do you have to move? I counted 7. Did anyone else count 7? 7. So times 10 to the, is it positive or negative 7? Positive. So 1.414 times 10 to the 7th power. Okay, you got to be really careful when you're counting these because even if it's off by 1, it's going to be wrong. Okay, kind of a big deal. Okay, how about for E? For E, what did we get? Amber. You didn't get that one? Okay, well, where do we want the decimal place to be? In between which two digits? In between the 8 and the 7. Okay, so we want this to be 8.76 times 10 to the, are you going to move to the left or the right? From where it is, or where I want it to be to where it is, would be to the left. So that's going to be times 10 to the, how many times do you have to move it? 1, 2. Count your number of spaces. How many times did you move?
4.
3. Okay, so count to move over 1, 2, 3 spaces, and since you're moving to the left, it's a negative 3. Okay, let's try one more. What did we get for F? Erica.
Okay, well, I didn't do it, so I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Okay, so you need to move over the decimal point 1
Okay. And which way am I moving it?
to the right. No?
To the left, right. We always remember when we're doing these, we want to figure out where we want it to where it is. Okay, so you're always count where you want to where it started. Okay, so if where you want it to where it starts, you'd move to the left. So that's 10 to the what power? If you move it over 1 to the left, is that positive 1 or negative 1?
Negative 1?
Yep. So 10 to the negative 1. There you go. Okay, does anyone have questions on how we did this? So this is probably going to be the harder part on your homework. Okay, it's changing it from standard form to scientific notation. Okay, does anyone have questions on how I did that? No, not too bad? Okay, you guys are going to write down your homework. Is going to start on page 55. Okay, you're starting on page 55. And you are doing numbers 1 through 7. Okay, so 1 through 7, 10, 11, 18 through 26, and 29 to 34. So I know it's kind of split up, but make sure you write those down. Okay?